Welcome to LEARN PTE HUB. I'm Sidhu, and I'm here to help you ace your PTE exam. Whether you are just starting your PTE journey or looking to boost your score, you've come to the right place. On this channel, you'll find comprehensive lessons, expert tips, and practical strategies to master every section of the PTE exam. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's get started and conquer the PTE together.
In 2012, I traveled to Colombia to prepare for the first ever prevention study in Alzheimer's disease. A simple blood test could detect the mutation. If the study is successful, patients could be identified and treated before the onset of symptoms. But what about the rest of the world with Alzheimer's disease due to different genetic and environmental risks? What about patients like my friend David? Today's technologies, smartphones, wearables, online patient communities, and online assessment tools can be used to gather data in an unprecedented global scale. With enough data, we can begin to understand the emerging genetics and this disease, much the way Dr. Lopera did in Colombia. When that happens, we can begin to understand your risk for Alzheimer's disease, the biologic pathways that are most important in you, and most importantly, when to begin treatment. Now is the time that patients, family members, physicians, scientists, and drug developers all have a role to play in defeating Alzheimer's disease.
Over the past few months, the government has been pushing to remove all advertising outlets for the tobacco industry, and in particular pushing for plain packaging. The tobacco industry, however, are against this, and they in particular argue that the cigarette box is not a form of advertising. Michaela has been doing her PhD looking at cigarette advertising and how it's changed over the last 50 years. Basically, I've accessed advertising from the tobacco industry since the 1950s and just analyzed the images and looked at the use of the cigarette box within the adverts. In the very early adverts, the cigarette box is a very small part of the adverts and they focus much more on the social aspects of smoking. However, as you move through the decades and get closer to the present day, the cigarette box became more and more of a focal point in the adverts. My argument is that the cigarette box has actually become iconic to each brand. So when a smoker takes a box out of their pocket, they are actually advertising that brand. So what we hope will come out of this is that the government will introduce plain packaging. And like Australia, who have already introduced its policy, and Ireland, who are again beginning to introduce its policy, we hope that the UK will stop cigarette companies from using their box as a form of advertising.
In 1997, a French woman named Jeanne Calment passed away after 122 years and 164 days on this earth, making her the oldest known person in history. Her age was so astounding that a millionaire pledged $1 million to anyone who could break her record. But in reality, living to this age or beyond is a feat that very few, maybe even no humans, are likely to accomplish. Human bodies just aren't built for extreme aging. Our capacity is set at about 90 years. But what does aging really mean? And how does it counteract the body's efforts to stay alive? We know intuitively what it means to age. For some, it means growing up, while for others, it's growing old. Yet finding a strict scientific definition of aging is a challenge. What we can say is that aging occurs when intrinsic processes and interactions with the environment, like sunlight and toxins in the air, water, and our diets, cause changes in the structure and function of the body's molecules and cells. Those changes in turn drive their decline and subsequently the failure of the whole organism. The exact mechanisms of aging are poorly understood, but recently scientists have identified 9 physiological traits, ranging from genetic changes to alterations in a cell's regenerative ability, that play a central role.
We know that more than half of Americans are married or are living with or dating their future partner by 30. We know that the brain caps off its second and last growth spurt in your 20s as it rewires itself for adulthood, which means that whatever it is you want to change about yourself, now is the time to change it. We know that personality changes more during your 20s than at any other time in life. And we know that female fertility peaks at age 28, and things get tricky after age 35. So your 20s are the time to educate yourself about your body and your options. So when we think about child development, we all know that the first 5 years are a critical period for language and attachment in the brain. It's a time when your ordinary day-to-day life has an inordinate impact on who you will become. But what we hear less about is that there's such a thing as adult development, and our 20s are that critical period of adult development. But this isn't what 20-somethings are hearing. Newspapers talk about the changing timetable of adulthood. Researchers call the 20s an extended adolescence. Journalists coined silly nicknames for 20-somethings like twixters and cadults. It's true. As a culture, we have trivialized what is actually the defining decade of adulthood.
Instead of real eye damage, you might experience some eye discomfort, like blurry vision, dry eyes, watery eyes, and tired eyes. These symptoms even have a name. It's called computer vision syndrome. I know my eyes feel heavy after a long day of staring, but a doctor isn't going to worry about my long-term health, so don't be scared by that really intense name. Still, my eyes are irritated and it's annoying. We likely experience computer vision syndrome because we blink less when we stare at a screen, according to optometrist Allison Bozung from the University of Iowa.
So our blink rate slows pretty significantly in some studies, up to about 2/3, so about 67%. Slower or less blinking.
And it's not easy to consciously blink more. I'm very aware of that. You'll probably look a little bit crazy if you try, so instead, use eye drops to keep your eyeballs moist. Make sure they are for that purpose and not for redness relief. Take breaks too. Most doctors recommend the 20-20-20 rule.
20-20-20 rule. 20-20-20 rule.
Which says that for every 20 minutes that you're on a computer or staring at a screen, take 20 seconds to stare at something 20 feet away.
It requires more energy to focus at a near target than it does to focus at a distance target.
If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more PTE-related content. Don't forget to leave a comment below letting me know what you think, or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. I will meet you soon at our next video.